Hey y'all, welcome back. Bearded Bros Golf Show. Back at it again. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
It is the week of the Open Championship, and although there was a lot of other golf stuff going on, it kind of took all the air out of those other events. Really, it was all about what was going on over in Scotland. Really good tournament week. The course presented incredibly well. Tough. I think people got a kick out of the weather and the course playing incredibly different from day to day. Overall, I think it was a really intriguing major to finish out the major season. Last year, we had Brian Harmon really dominating throughout the week, and then it just really wasn't much of a contest. We had a lot of drama, a lot of leaders changing hands each day. I thought my guy Lowry would be able to brave the weather, but he wasn't able to hang in there and win his second Open Championship. What'd you think about the tournament, man?
Um, I thought it was a really good presentation of premier golfers doing what they were supposed to do. I felt like all the leaders were under par or somewhere around it. They didn't go backwards. And then the cream rose to the top. It's not even like you can say Xander, jumped out the gate and dominated. He had a surge on that back nine that was so late that it probably caught everybody by surprise, to be honest. But if you look at the way Xander's been playing golf, prior to this event, you could kind of call him a contender or a long shot or even, but you had to put some odds on him because he was in the conversation to be able to win it
Yeah,
because he's finally knocked that off his rung of things to do. So he's already got one. So he knows how to do
won
it.
the
Oh,
won
yeah.
the Scottish Open a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. Knows how to place in these conditions, can play, like we just described last week, can play out of all those tunnels, can play low, mid, high, and seems to be able to control just a little bit of a fall right now. So not only is he not just a draw bias player, can play a little fade off the tee if need be, can play the shot that needs to be presented. And you saw it, 13, 14, 14 in particular, you saw him on that par three, that deep far right flag. He just hit just that pretty ball to the right, and it landed hole hot, and he cashed another putt. The dude's putter got crazy hot. It wasn't like he was close. Dude was just draining 15 to 20-foot putts.
Yeah.
So he really did what he was supposed to do. And just to conclude, really, Shane Lowry kind of broke my heart too. I really thought after those first two rounds, he was going to be able to talk his shit again. But the third round came and bit him like it did pretty much everybody else. He just couldn't hit the bounce back. He really tumbled hard. Went from 8 under at one point to finish back at 1 under. So going from
Yeah.
being three
Take
under par
tough
to
holes.
over par, yeah, very tough, very tough.
And
So
I think with Xander, he made tough birdies, especially on the back half of today's round, where other people, you know, Justin Rose in particular, um, Tristan Lawrence, which every time I see his name, because it's THR, I think about
right.
Thriston. I'm like Thriston Lawrence. He's like
Well, he is
fancy,
South
but
African, so they be saying that.
I I I know it. I couldn't get that pronunciation out of my mind. So when they call him Tristan, it was messing with me.
Yeah,
But they were, struggling and with the conditions, it was a little bit windy today, and it died off the second half of the round. But Xander was making birdies when he needed to make birdies, and that
yeah,
little, I think it was a four-hole stretch where he made three out of four birdies, starting on hole number 11th, which no one was scoring on. He was only the third birdie on that hole of the weekend.
yeah,
That's getting it. That's getting it done.
yeah.
And you put in that kind of score to finish when everybody else is kind of just limping into the finish line. Kudos to him for really knocking that out. So I want to address a couple of comments Mom's got up here. I think this is the part of our show. We're dealing with newbies to the game. So we talked about the rain thing last week. So in Scotland, not a lot of lightning. So rain comes in off that coast all the time.
Right.
So that's the beauty of link style golf, and you're going to
Built
get
for
some
it.
weather changes, heavy winds that you're contending with. It's the same reason you saw people having like 400, high 300-yard drives on particular holes the day before, only on Saturday. So these drives were falling in the 250, 230 range, not a whole 140 yards off driver. So just kind of the nature of the beast in link style golf, which we don't really see a lot here in the U.S. There's not a lot of, which I do have a topic on that here in a little bit that we'll get to. There's just not a lot of conditions that are conducive that can kind of imitate what's going on over there, and that's the unique style of link style golf and kind of the origination of the game. And kind of the second part of that question was the course conducive to that kind of weather? Absolutely.
Yes. It's built for that. It's
It
built
is
to withstand
100% built
that.
for that.
There's not a lot of, so like, compared to, American style courses, Parkland style courses where there's a lot of watering, a lot of green grass and things like that. Their courses are meant to brown out. They're meant to dry out, especially in the summertime. So that's why you see, like, if you're paying attention, a lot of lower shots, a lot of on the ground shots, trying to dot and make sure you're accurate enough. But that's in why you see a lot of pot bunkers. So if you want to play aggressive,
Yep.
you got to make sure that you're accurate. If you're trying to play further down the fairway and off the tee, you got to make sure you're accurate, or you could fall into one of those. Or, sometimes, just like in every day of life, sometimes you get good breaks and sometimes you get bad breaks. So, green side, when you get in some of those pot bunkers, like Shane Lowry, prime example yesterday, even tried to get a ruling on it, just nothing you could do about it. That's just the way it is. He was in a bunker. It was pretty wet. It was pretty damp, but not enough for them to say, like, this is standing water and you can't play out of this. It was just mucky sand. You just had to play out of it.
Yeah.
So it's for everybody. Nobody is
Yeah.
allowed to escape that. And you saw the best players playing well out of the bunkers, and you saw the best players not even getting in bunkers, playing away from them. So
Yeah. Take your medicine if you get in them, because you can't go be aggressive. You're playing away from the hole, away
right,
from the green complexes. That's the part that I love, right? So they're in play.
definitely.
Even just the artistry of, you look at the eighth hole, the postage stamp, the thing I don't think played over 120 yards this week was like the
I think,
max. But
yeah, 120, 130, something like that.
but it's like they don't have to be super long to have teeth to them, right? You miss the green,
Right.
it's a smallish green. You're going in with the short iron, a wedge, etc. But it's tricky, right? People are ending up in that right hand bunker short, having to play away from it. Not able to go towards the hole. You're pretty much guaranteeing bogey at the
Yeah.
minimum. Ending up in that bunker, you didn't see many people getting up and down. So I love that style of golf, which you saw people on social media. I don't know if just it seemed like there was definitely more people on the grounds this week than there had been in previous opens. I think they set records in terms of on the ground attendance, but I also think people were tuning in for whatever reason more than usual. So a lot of commentary online about kind of people really enjoying the carnage for the week, which I think that's part of it, right? It's a true challenge. Also, with Lawrence in the mix, I was like, okay, this is 2 years in a row that we're kind of gonna get a random, winner. You wouldn't have picked Brian Harmon from last year. You
Right.
wouldn't have went into this week saying Lawrence was going to be in contention. Even the guy, last name Brown,
Yeah, Daniel
competing.
Brown, Billy Horschel.
Yeah,
I
these are
mean,
just kind of outside of the box picks, right?
yeah,
So, we have a little betting pool on my, golf group on WhatsApp. So there are 13 names in the mix, kind of your typical names. That Schauffele was one of those names that was picked. And other than that, though, 7 of the 13 picks were missed the cut.
dang.
I had kind of gone back and looked at some historical winners at Troon, and it looked like it's set up for guys who hit draws for the most part. And I was like, okay, let me pick somebody who can hit the draw, maybe even move it both ways. And I ended up going with Tommy Fleetwood, and that just didn't work out. He missed
Right.
the cut. Big names, Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, U.S. Open winner, and runner up, both missed the cut as well. So it was a tough week to pick, and I think what this shows for Xander Schauffele is once he got over that hump at the PGA Championship, we've seen a different golfer. I mean, he's been top, two wins and two top tens in the majors this year, excuse me. So that's pretty damn good. And it seems like all those kind of trials and tribulations, us questioning whether he was elite, are out of the window at this point. Once
Yeah,
he's activated the cheat code and figured out how to win and not make the mistakes and kind of be aggressive where he, sees opportunities to go and win these championships. I think we've seen him unlock that this year. So kudos to him, even though he's not necessarily um, socially, like you just still look at him in the press conferences. He's not your traditional star. I don't think he gives off that vibe that people just love. Laid back California kid. Um, just different style of pro that we're used to.
yeah.
But yeah, one thing that I kind of thought about is let's do this part first. Majors. So this year's majors, how do you think they shook out? I think this was actually a pretty good year for the majors, both the courses that were played and also just the storylines around them. How do you feel about them this year?
Let's see. I think just in recency bias, I think that this course was great for the game of golf because you saw somebody win in a good way, but also single digits under par. You saw how conditions and course setup can play a part in how tournaments play and how people score. And I think that is an important thing as we continue to discuss the ball rollback and the disdain that we have for that. So kudos to the RNA for a great course setup. And of course, I've
Mm-hmm.
always enjoyed links golf and how links golf sets up and plays. So I like their rotation, and they've started of late to intermingle more courses instead of just your traditional St. Andrews. Of course, those are going to be the primary ones, but every now and again, just like when Shane Lowry won in 2019, non-traditional link style course, but it was a link style course, or it wasn't one of their favorite rotational courses. But
Right.
U.S. Open is playing like a U.S. Open. I, you go back on it, and I still have to. I mean, I still got to double down on it. I think Rory lost it. I just don't see it any other way. He missed too many clutch putts down the stretch on that back nine. It wasn't
Yeah.
just 18, and I'm not saying that as a player that because we all know how it goes when it gets to putts like that. The pressure's on. You try to not think about those types of things, and it still happens anyways.
Yeah.
Pressure bust
Your
pipes, and you
body
can
does
say that
things to you.
anyway. Exactly. Yeah, there's
The
sometimes
heart
that
rate
shit is
goes up, the
uncontrollable.
tension.
Right.
Yeah.
You think about all the thoughts you shouldn't think about. Oh, this is to win it. Oh, I got this in the bag. Oh, this is an everyday 3 or 4 footer. I'm not trying to think about this for the US Open. These are the thoughts you think, and you still screw it over. So US Open was still fun to watch, and they probably thought it was going to be closer to even par, not even players getting to six. So, you
Yeah.
know, I, it's tough to say if that was a favorable course setup for everybody, but I definitely think it was fun to watch the carnage as just like we did with the Open. The PGA, it's still wild having it in May, but I get it with the Olympics being here, wanting to keep something
Yeah.
fiery going every month. So, not unopposed to having majors in every month, but just weird to think about the PGA being in May.
I like the order. I like the back to back at this
I,
point.
I like it.
We've done it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think next year, no Olympics. I think they'll slide it back and make it. Well, the Masters will be in April every year, and then,
Yeah.
well,
And
I guess
and
it'll
in
stay
the
like
last
that:
two
April,
years,
May,
even
June, July.
even last year, even last year, we they went back to back months. So April,
Right,
May, June, and July. So
right.
this is kind of the world we're living in at this point, and for the
Yeah.
foreseeable future.
And then of course the players in March. So I guess it'll be like that for a
Yeah,
while. Um,
yeah. I don't know that to me the course at least for Valhalla. I think it was just not. I don't think it has enough teeth at this point
yeah,
to
I don't
kind
think
of
it was as
defend
exciting
against.
as it was last time we watched it.
No, no,
It just
I
wasn't
don't know.
memorable.
No, it felt more challenging the last time it was at Valhalla, but this year,
Yeah,
players you didn't see a lot of bogeys on cards this
right,
year. A lot of pars and birdies, you know, a handful of eagles here and there, but wasn't as punishing and demanding on players' skill sets. And like you said,
right,
the Masters is going to be the Masters. And I was also thinking just his where in terms of my excitement to watch majors at this point. At the end of the day, I'd say I've ranked mine as every year I'm getting excited for the Masters. Of course, the course itself
right,
is fantastic. It's the beginning of the golf season in terms of majors. You know, things really start heating up at that point. Um, then I think I've gone to liking the link style open, you know,
yeah,
championships as a second on my list, no matter where they're holding it. I mean, I don't love when they go back to St. Andrews. You get the history of the course, but there's not a lot of defenses at this point against the modern player.
right,
So when it was warm a couple of years ago, it was just a scoring fest, and it's hard to really keep the players down at that point. So, but I still like the link style golf. It's a change up. I really wish we saw more of that, which I get to at the end here. And then I go U.S. Open just because the setups are really demanding, and then PGA Championship. The last handful of PGA Championships haven't been super intriguing, and I
yeah,
don't know. The courses that they've been picking out are just kind of okay, right? I don't know. I
right.
don't love them in the same way. So that's my order. You have any deviation from that?
Yeah, I mean, I would on it. I don't know. I feel like I love the Masters. It's always visually going to be my favorite, but I don't know. I think I would go US Open, and then I would go probably the Open, and then I would probably go Masters PGA. Just as far as excitement and what I think could happen, because I always know I'm gonna get a
Yeah.
good show from the Masters. It's just kind of like I'm just ready to see the
Oh,
course
oh,
again. I'm not necessarily
oh,
like
okay, okay, Gary Player out here with the hot takes. You know, he said a couple of years ago he didn't think the Masters was that impressive. That's an interesting take, but I get where you're coming from. I totally get
right.
it.
I'm not saying it's not impressive. I love the Masters, but as far as like player excitement and player competitive, I think the Masters, it sets up for a certain player, and we've seen that. I feel like
Yeah,
once you figure out that the formula winning the Masters, you can get on a horse, and it's just because like remember that
yeah,
you remember. I mean, Jordan Spieth won it twice already, and then he's competed pretty much every year for somehow, some way. May not do it anywhere else, but when it comes to the Masters, Jordan Spieth is going to be somewhere
right.
on that leaderboard, and that's kind
Yeah,
of
we
what I
saw
mean.
Bubba Watson go on his
Right.
run.
Every other
Yeah,
year.
Phil typically plays no matter how he's playing at the time can get it together to play well in the Masters.
Yeah.
We know Tiger's history there. No matter what his body, I mean, if it stays together for that week and the weather's warm enough, Tiger's gonna at least make the cut and play the weekend. So yeah,
Right.
I get it. There's certain players
Yeah.
that the Masters is set up for.
And then just in continuation with that, as far as it goes with just how me and you are so competitive, I think that ties into my love for link style golf and for the US Open, because when times get tough, the golf needs to rise to the top, and you got to play some golf. I think that just really gets a rise out of me as far as competition goes and competitive juices go. So I think the playing field is always going to be a lot more even on the US Open because everybody has a chance if you're not making pars. If you can keep it in the fairways, you're going to be all right. Just make sure you're not putting like crap. And then link style
Yeah.
course, it just really throws everybody for a loop. We never see it. It's just like match play for us. We want to see more of that on TV. Now, I know everybody doesn't like to see, I get it. People don't like to see non tree line courses. They like seeing it come out of a tunnel and they like seeing them
No,
fly it
I
over
like it.
trees
I
and
like
stuff
shoot.
like
I
that.
like whatever that hole was where they had to shoot over the dunes and you couldn't even see the fairway. I can't remember the
Number
whole number at
11,
this
that
point,
number
but
11. Yeah, that blind tee
yeah,
shot next to the train tracks. Yeah, it was wild.
no, no, it's not even that one. There's another one where I get, yeah, number 11 is one of them, but there's another where you're just literally, the dune kind of went at a 45-degree, and I'll have to look it up, but there were a
Yeah.
couple like that where you're kind of having to imagine the shot.
And
And
just
that's
trust it.
just unique. And I don't mind not seeing a tree. I mean, I
Yeah.
like seeing different vegetation, the gores, and all that stuff. Because like the goes back to the Shane Lowry on what day was that? Day 2 or 3? I think
Mhm.
it was day 2, where the spectator, where we thought the ball was gone, and he
Yeah.
ended up kind of pulling it out of that rough on number 11, and dropped right there in the same spot, put it right underneath the hole, had a putt for bogey at that point. Ends up, ball being located by the fan. They wrestle with the drop point for 15-20 minutes, and he ends up with the double. And I was thinking, man, if this ends up being, um, a one shot decision at the end of the week, that's going to suck. But again, you don't see that typically, that kind of drama, or just kind of the fescue grabbing clubs. It's just a different layout. And I don't know. I appreciate it. So the
Yeah.
question that I'm kind of go back to when, get the question about like, hey, this kind of setup and kind of the way it looks and kind of liking the way this looks. Bandon Dunes in Oregon is probably the closest thing that we would experience stateside to that type of kind of
Yeah.
unpredictable weather, that it can just come in at any point in time. It could be hot one day, and then by the afternoon something can come in off the coast, and it's a completely different scenario. You see the windswept kind of water, type of conditions. What We're not going to see it in our lifetime, or at least in the next 20 to 30 years, because those course setups, are already planned for quite some time. But what would you think about a U.S. Open being held at Bandon to kind of get a second taste of the Open? What would you think about something like that?
I mean, now that it's had some time to grow and develop, I think it would be good. I mean, I think they played out there. They played Chambers Bay or somewhere like out there in that area, and then the
Yeah, it was
course
the
just
U.S.
didn't have
Open.
time. Yeah,
No, it
so
was
I don't know,
hot. Yeah, and then the green situation. I
broccoli
don't
and
know.
stuff
I
like
just
that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it was a
they
weird
did
that was a weird
the
week.
They did the PGA at Kiawah Island. I mean, that was pretty close to it. There was very few far in between trees, and it was right on the course. Remember, a lot of natural areas where you could ground your club on the sand and stuff like that. Second time around, they
Yeah,
did that at Whistling Straits too. I, I, I think they could have some courses like that are set up that way. I think that's another reason why they built PGA Frisco, so they could get that on the market and see if they could put that into the rotation of things. I mean,
yeah.
if you pay enough money, they're going to put you in the rotation. I mean, I feel like that's what the PGA is. I mean, Quail Hollow got that
Yeah,
shit again. I mean, you pay
but
enough bread,
I
they're
think
going to
this
put
year
you in.
has I think this year has proven the fact that we want to see something outside of the norm, right? Parkland style courses are the everyday. We see these week in, week out on the PGA Tour. That's why
Right.
don't think Bandon would work necessarily, or that style of course would work for a kind of week to week swing because you want some predictability. I don't think it would also get the same excitement that it'd have to be in a major setting. But I think that's part of the reason that we also came away from Pinehurst number 2 really digging that course. And, it's got a good mix of, like you said, the natural areas, the trees, in certain areas, getting mangled in that wiregrass. It was just some different stuff that we don't tend to see every week, and it
Right.
really visually was appealing on TV. It presented a challenge that the players, don't see and had to kind of struggle with. So I don't know. I'm all for different style courses and them introducing some stuff that's outside of the norm than what we're used to. So I think this was a really good major season. We're heading into the Olympics, and we'll see if Xander can continue the success and pull off another gold medal this year,
Yeah, for
given
sure.
that he's already won one and having the year that he's having, who the hell knows? He seems like he's on the cusp of some greatness. I think he's really rewritten his resume this year, and I'm happy for him because
Yeah.
no one wants to hear that you can't get the job done when the pressure's on. So kudos to him and his
Yeah.
team, his caddy. Him and his caddy seem to be having a really good time out there. Former teammates at San Diego State. So kudos to them for the teamwork and really doing it together. Um, you know, so kudos kudos to the champion golfer of the year, Xander Schauffele.
Listen, hey, I think regardless of if Xander gets medals in the Olympics or not, I think he's sold up Player of the Year with that second
For sure.
major. But it's going to be tough because Scotty's won 5 times, 4 of those being elevated events, and the Masters. I don't look. It's still going to be tough, and then we still got the playoffs to go. There's
True.
still some things that can happen. I don't. I think it's
Yeah.
between those two, though. It's only those two. I mean, we're not going
Right.
to talk about Bryson
Right.
DeChambeau just because he won the U.S. Open. He's not even on this
Nah, he's
tour.
not. Nah, he's
Poor
not
guy.
getting reps that matter elsewhere. So
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, the Olympics golf course is going to play tough. It's the course we played where we got drubbed on last time we was out there at the Ryder Cup 18. So hopefully we can do better this time, but at least we'll have a vision and know the course. Let's see. Were any of those players in? I'm gonna have to look that up because I don't know if any of those
What's that?
players actually played that in 2018. I don't know if any of those players were on that Ryder Cup to play that. Scotty
I don't
wasn't
know. We'll take
there.
a yeah. We'll take a look at
Xander
that
might
when
have
it gets
been there
closer. But that's a good. Yeah,
because
he's been on the last
Xander won,
handful of Ryder Cup teams.
he won the
We'll
FedEx
come
that
back.
year at the end of
No,
it.
we don't have
Hmm.
to
Yeah, I'll look that
improvise. We'll
up.
come back to it. We got time. I will say from still on the Open Championship, handful of stories to still touch on there. Terrell Hatton came up twice this week as one hilarious, one more just kind of grounded in who Terrell Hatton is, which it seems to be
Yeah.
a super honest guy. So let's go with the funny one first, right? So we saw Terrell yucking it up after a bad tee shot, carrying his own bag. We've talked about it a few weeks ago, where it was the stick getting old with Terrell Hatton and just kind of the him throwing hissy fits and
Right.
but we saw the lighthearted side of him walking alongside his caddy after a poor tee shot, carrying his own bag towards the green. So what'd you think of that one?
I thought it was great. I mean, just like what we said, he's teetering on the age. He's teetering on the edge, but all still fun and games for me with Tyrrell Hatton. I still enjoy his game. I mean, when he's got it going, I mean, him and that little fade, that little closed fade that he plays, I think he's still a really good player. Just sad
Yeah,
how he went out. I just think I mean, we all know it was just really shady, really weird how he went out, but I guess that's just what it is. But
yeah,
just like what you were getting ready to go over, we're gonna talk about some of his frustrations with his new move. So it'll be fine, and
yeah.
he'll be okay.
So he moves over. Yeah, he will. So yeah, I like seeing levity from him. Take the edge off the hissy fit and crying, but as he entered into kind of the press, situation this week at the Open, he just spoke to his desire going forward for Liv to play and kind of do the prep in the same way that DP World Tour and PGA Tour have combined to do the Scottish Open as a tradition heading into the Open Championship each year. And clearly it's gotten people prepared, gotten them more comfortable with link style golf, acclimated to the time change as well. You get over a couple weeks before, get your
Yeah.
body, set. The fact that they were both held in Scotland this year, I think was super beneficial as well. Not a lot of movement going on within a car ride's drive from the Scottish Open. But Terrell Hatton said he would just love for Liv to have some kind of similar prep. So last week they played in Spain. It was at the Andalusia. Is that the name of that course?
Hmm.
And again, traditional Link Parkland style course, not really getting them prepped for what they were going to encounter. And it definitely takes some prep. It's just not something that you just show up to the week of um, and get ready for. So I thought that was very interesting to see that from Terrell and just being honest. And I think, anytime you have the closed loop that Live is, I don't know. I think they would hugely benefit from listening to the feedback from their players. We've seen John Rahm speak up on certain aspects. Here we see Terrell Haddon speak up on it. They're fresh to the league. Their teammates on Live. I think that's a valid criticism of the scheduling component there. What do you think?
Yeah, totally agree. I think this is one of those times where the players really should have a little bit more ownership in what's going on as far as the scheduling goes and things of that nature. There would have been, I don't think there would have been any problem with holding Live Golf London in the month of July or something like that. That way, at least you're in the United Kingdom. Just now, again, like we talked about previously with Live Golf Houston and their championship and everything like that being in Texas and not so favorable months. It might be it just might be a scheduling conflict. Maybe they're just doing the best that they can, getting it as close to that as can. Because they played in Andalusia, but they played at Valderrama. So Valderrama is like a par 70, par 71. It's a tough course, even though it's Parkland. It's definitely very favorable to being in tough conditions and having to play really good, consistent golf. But again, I mean, I just think the players should have a little bit more say in where they play and what time that they're playing that at, just so that it can be easier to set up for tournament prep and things like that. Because
Yeah.
I mean, they've already made steps in the right direction by even having events closer to majors. So the players that qualified or the past champions that could play in these events have been able to somewhat prepare or at least be playing going into them instead of sitting out a month or whatever in between events. But yeah, completely agreed. I mean, that was totally warranted. And I think that was the correct criticism for sure by Terrell Hatton.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Just didn't really make sense. And here they are playing Live Golf UK next week. Again at
Ugh.
JCP Golf and Country Club. So I mean, I don't. There's not much rhyme or reason. We know that they're making the schedule year to year, and that there's
Hmm.
really not much forethought going into it.
Yeah.
As announced, so their September event, Texas, they're playing Live Golf Chicago. We talked about that earlier in the year. That was announced in May. So they're kind of just making it up as they go. Their team championship, which is happening at Merido here in Dallas Fort Worth, again just announced like a couple weeks ago. Where were
Yeah.
they planning on doing it before then? It just doesn't.
No
As a
clue.
professional, sports league, not much forethought. So I agree. Being able to listen to your players' feedback, have some maybe board meetings that include the players, some kind of player syndicate where they can get the feedback on what players are experiencing. I think it would just go to making it a better product and catch on to what they're trying to sell. So, um, But
I
yeah, shout
also
out to
think
Terrell
it's
Hatton.
yeah, shout out to Terrell Hatton. I also think it's crazy. I don't want to be too critical because apparently we are just live golf haters, but you just would hate to see a worldwide tour that internationally travels end in September. That's just crazy to me.
This this is true. It's weird.
If you
It's weird.
PGA
And
PGA
then
Tour,
and then you
they
won't
have
tee it up again until when did they start this
January,
year? February.
February,
February
5
2nd was
months in a row.
Mayakoba.
They have to search out events in the Asian Tour, the Sunshine Tour. Where else?
DP. DP, you see quite a few of their players getting in on DP World Tour events.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Which okay, so check this out. I didn't even put this in the story notes just because there were so many other things to talk about. But did you catch the story about John Rahm and qualifying for next year's Ryder Cup and needing to compete in 4 DP World Tour events and also pay off his fines, of course, that have been levied to actually, get past whatever restrictions and or sanctions that have been placed on him. Did you catch that story?
No, no, but
Okay, so check this
I
out.
mean, that's warranted too, though.
So it was so weird. Like I said, there was so much going on this week. Super weird. So he has to do those 2 things. And it has to be by the conclusion of this season, which we know DP World Tour goes pretty deep into the year. And he was just saying schedule conflicts, and apparently he's on baby number 3, and his wife's due at some point soon that he didn't know. Um, Apparently, he should have the cash, right, to pay the
For
fines.
sure.
But right now, that's a qualification to make the Ryder Cup for the European side is to play in a minimal amount of DP World Tour events, as well as, of course, pay his fine. So that one's going to be interesting. And when I was kind of reading through the thread where I saw the story, it just seemed like he was so nonchalant and this was a self-inflicted deal. It didn't seem like there was much else in the way of him being able to compete. Clearly, like Patrick Reed's been playing on the DP World Tour.
Yeah,
If we look at the live schedule, it ain't exactly flush with events. That's part of the appeal, right? So if you want to play the Ryder Cup, the bar seems to be super low. But I guess as more develops from that, we'll see how that goes. We have 4 months left for, or really 5 months for him to get that done. We'll see how that shakes out for him. But weird story. Um,
yeah.
one more couple things from the Open Championship. So also earlier in the week, Tiger Woods um, didn't make the cut, but looked good in the practice rounds and all the footage that we saw. Every time he shows up, he's getting the looks from TaylorMade and Sunday Red and all the everybody gets excited seeing Tiger playing the practice rounds, and then it's tough during the week. But him and Colin Montgomery had an interesting kind of back and forth with Colin Montgomery kind of poking some shots at Tiger, saying enough is enough. He said, "What the hell is he doing? He's coming to Troon and he won't enjoy it here either." Um, and then we were joking in our text thread that Tiger went ultimate scoreboard, go just pointed at the scoreboard and said, "I'm exempt until I'm 60." Colin's not, and kept it moving. Just hey, bro, he's reserving the right until he chooses. And, he's got another 10 years, not even 10 years. It's more than 10 years,
12.
to make that decision. Yeah, so he's not even 50 yet. That he can show up at the Open every single year without having to qualify as a past champion and get his run in. So thought that was pure Tiger. We hadn't seen kind of snarky Tiger in a while. It was good to see that come back out against Colin Montgomery. What'd you think, man?
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I feel like my man Monty got caught up in the wrong situation. My bro, they threw a oop that he thought he was gonna catch, and he ended up whiffing on it, and Tiger Woods just dunked it all over him. Bro, they were asking
He's straight
him
up.
something. Yeah, they were asking him something about Tiger's form and stuff like that, and it was kind of guided at what he did at Pinehurst, which wasn't good. We can all agree to that. Tiger can agree to that.
Yeah.
Just not as sharp as he needed to be, which is very, very true. But there's no way you should have continued that on. You should have just left it there. I, Tiger didn't have his best game. He hit some squirrely shots. You kind of think, what the hell are you doing, Tiger? We want to see better from you. You should have stopped there. For you to go in and say, well, Royal Troon isn't going to be any easier. I don't know what he's still doing playing. Bro, shut it up. Career, you
Right.
have maybe, I mean, like, he doesn't even have career major runner ups as many majors as Tiger has. And he's
No.
got 15 years on Tiger? I mean, you've been around the
Yep.
block more than twice, brother. And we're just not seeing the accolades that we
He,
thought we would see out of you, Colin. You were
not
in
not even close to not even close or holds a candle to anything that Tiger Woods has
right.
ever done.
You're I'm trying to think about some stats I can look up for Colin to try to, see it his way. He wasn't ever really he wasn't ever really on winning teams in the Ryder Cup. Was he ever really just like the one to go to then? Like, my man won 3 PGA championships out in, Wentworth or whatever when they was running it there. That's about all I got from my man's money, bro. That's about
Right.
all I
So
got.
I'm on, is grain of salt because it is Wikipedia, so it's user generated, but his major history in terms of seconds, he's only got one, two, three, five side for seconds, or
Mm,
T2s or solo seconds in his entire career. In the Masters, the best he ever did was tied for eighth. Um, of course, never closed the deal. Yeah, man. I don't know. Every handful of years, Colin Montgomery comes out with some like kind of talking out of the side of his neck type of comments, shooting his shots at some of the greats of the game, and it's just interesting. And I don't know if it's a an English thing or what's the deal with my man. Oh, he's raised in England, Scottish by birth, so I don't know what it is, but he's
do
got
the
kind of
people of
the
Scotland even get behind him though?
do they claim him, or is he
He's a step bro.
does the
He's a
Scottish
step bro.
delegation?
Yeah.
But every few years he'll pop out and say something crazy like this. But I think Tiger, simplest response he could have, but also cuts the deepest. So, but it also made me think about the John Daly situation, and also our personal preference for who we're Tiger stands, right? The
Yeah.
dude's accomplishments are through the roof. It doesn't need to be said, right? What he's done with his career. John Daly won the PGA and also an Open Championship in '95. However, his record in majors has been entirely scattered, and he's also had a ton of withdrawals, including cheer after the first round. And so we've seen John Daly's health struggle. He was an article that I sourced for this said he's been going through a number of surgeries, especially the last 5 years. He says he's had more surgeries than Tiger has at this point. We also know that he doesn't take care of his body at all. Doesn't drink water. He's getting his water intake from cokes and drinks cigarettes on the course. So not exactly a bastion of health, but he's not able to get around courses anymore. And, when you're still playing in kind of your standard majors, you're going to have to hoof it and walk. You
Yeah.
can't go to the cart like you could on the Champions Tour. So I don't know. I'm conflicted because it's like we give Tiger a pass, but, John Daly keeps trying to give it a go, but he's also not even making it past the first couple of rounds. He can't physically get around the course for four
Yeah.
rounds. What do you think about that kind of internal? Because I felt an internal struggle because I'm like, I'm giving Tiger a pass. should I give John Daly a pass, and he be allowed to show up and withdraw? Because I think about a younger player that could be in that spot.
Right. That could take that spot and probably get a name for himself going. It's a tough situation. I think John Daly is overall in the golf realm of things very likable. Outside of golf, very shitty person. I think he is here selfishly enough to just have a good time. So, get him a free flight over there, have a good time, drinking some pints with the guys, walking the course those first couple of days. And then, after an 82 or 81, mailing it in. I think he's reserved the right. So I think, you know,
I just
he's
want him to
older than
finish.
Tiger though.
He's just got to
He
finish. He
he's
is.
older than Tiger. So, his pass it's running away, it's expiring sooner than Tiger. So that's as far as I'll go is not giving him a pass. I'll give him the pass, thankfully, because his pass is, getting ready to expire anyway. So, he can have him a few more
Right.
good years of walking and withdrawing. But yeah, it's almost done for John Daly. Let his son carry on the torch. Luckily he is a hooper too, so I think he'll be all right for a little bit. Yeah, just like you
Yeah,
were saying,
I'm
John.
sure I'm sure his dad's influence has been pivotal to hopefully make better decisions.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, the most pure water that John Daly has is in the ice cubes from his rum and coke. So let's just keep it there and keep it moving. Golly,
I like that. I like that. All right. Um, damn, did I miss anything?
what else
A
we
lot of
got?
open. Um, that's really it from the open in terms of our stories that were pivotal and made sense to talk about and kind of drove the day. But overall, wrapping up the major season really good. But like you said, the beat goes on. Olympics and then tour championship. The ladies. Let's hit this real quick and go past it, and then we'll talk about kind of close it out. So the LPGA did the Dana Open this week, and combined with the Open coverage and kind of, I don't know about you, but I was getting up early some days to catch the coverage, and it was really good golf. That by the
Yeah,
time the Dana Open, started running, I wasn't really tuned in. And today, after of course the Open Championship concluded, World Events kind of preempted the Dana Open, and I didn't even kind of after just like, oh, okay, cool, shit's happening in the world. I get it. We have to talk about this. I kind of tuned out. I turned off the tube or whatever and never came back to it. And then just kind of watched, saw the result of the announcement, of the winner of the LPGA event. And I don't know, man. I just think like in a week like this week, you can't again control world events. But when a major's going on, I don't know. It's just to me, it seems like bad practice to run a competing tournament and that scheduling, because we talked about the kind of irregularities in the LPGA schedule this year,
yeah,
that there were some avoidable gaps, and this would be one that I would plan. And I get it, you want to have an event maybe going into the Olympics, but it just seems ill advised. Again, you're not going to get eyes on your product. I'm sure sponsors don't love that in terms of do they get the bang for their buck, as y'all are getting minimal coverage and people are kind of golfed out at that point. What do you think about
yeah.
that? Would you have taken the week off if you were an LPGA exec?
Yes, but that's because we played the Evian the week before. So why in the hell are we playing in France? And then my whole cohort of players is getting shipped back to the States when, 60 to 70% of those players are going to go right back over to France to play in the Olympics the week after. Travel, time, just a lot of different variables that could have definitely went out the window. Now, don't get me wrong, I feel like this would be a perfect time to play in something similar to what the Scottish Open was, but they had that already. They have a Scottish Open before they play their Open, which is a couple
Yep.
of weeks after the Olympics. But there is nothing wrong with you playing kind of like what the Barracuda is, that all field event but it's where the tours combine. So you play that with the LET, or you play in a Ramco Team Series event. That's just kind of like that high flying 2 or 3 day event just to keep the juices flowing, and
Yeah.
let them stay in Europe. It's just, I mean, Nelly Korda had the time of her life over in Croatia, then came back to to the stateside, and then she's gonna fly over. Like that too, like bro, let her just, like, if you go on vacation, vacation over there and stay over there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I
And
want them to do it the
let me
right
put some
way.
respect. I know this is frustrating, and that's been the last couple of years. They take two steps forward and then one step back. Chana T Wanasayan, I want to give her props for winning this week.
Mom,
So
I told you that.
she largely, huh?
Check the comments in the section. I told mom this multiple times.
Okay. Random. I learned that Nelly Korda's brother is Sebastian Korda, an up and coming tennis player. Yeah, and also just since you're acting, do you know their dad's a
A
tennis
major
player as
champion,
well,
bro.
right? Peter Korda. Anyway, I just think again we've talked about it. The LPGA sometimes their own worst enemy. They're playing 2 weeks in a row. This one could have been one that they just kind of
Right.
avoided altogether. So
Yeah. It's
wanted to
either
hit on
play in
that, but
Europe or just not play at all. For real.
yeah, super forgettable, week. But shout out to that young lady for getting a tournament win. No
Yeah.
matter when it's done, you win on the professional level. You earn it. You're beating the best. Lynn Grant was in the house holding it down as well. So
She
wasn't
still
like
got
she was
six
just
figures. She's
gifted.
fine. She still
Yep.
got 100K out of it. She's fine.
Yep.
She's good.
Barracuda. When I logged on, they were still
Still
playing.
got like they
So
still
it's
got like an hour to go.
finally some of the leaders were moving to the 17th. So we're almost at a conclusion in the Barracuda. As we currently stand, Nick Dunlap is up plus 49, and tied for second is two guys on the 17th hole, Meisner and Whaley. So yeah, that one's not concluded, but Nick Dunlap might end up with his second professional win and second this year. First one before he turned pro.
Yeah.
Again, you're still playing against pros, so no shade to him at all for getting a win if he's able to pull it out. But what do you think about Stableford events? It's really the only one that we see. You're not a fan. You're not a
All
fan
bad.
of the all
All bad
bad,
ride.
really? Why are you a hater of Stableford golf? Tell me.
I'd rather see match play. I this
Dude, when I've thought about asking, like, because like I think for amateurs, right? You're getting penalized for bogeys and double bogeys. Um, so I don't know. I've even thought about like how could we mix that in to our kind of personal stuff, but clearly you would not. I mean, I get it. Match play is more exciting, right? It's more up and down. If
yeah.
somebody's just having a straight crappy round in
I'm playing the court.
Stableford, I can.
I'm playing the course compared to playing the player. Stableford, I'm literally just like, it don't even matter who's riding with me. I'm thinking about what's going on the course. I'm not saying that I'm trying to get in anybody's head if I'm playing match play, but like, it's a lot easier to play against a player than it is to play against the course and me just go crazy on the course when we all know as amateurs that's not going to happen. We're not going to light up the field and stuff like that because the dude Dunlap's 49 plus 49,
Yeah.
it's 2 points for a birdie, 5 points for an eagle. He's at 49. He's probably somewhere between 23 and 24 under. That's the American Express. Just call it what it is.
So you're not a fan. This should be
No,
the only one, and you're totally good with that being the only one. Okay, that's fair.
correct.
I agree with that. I agree. You're kind of just it's like a shootout. You're just going. You're just trying to go as low as possible. But I guess for some guys, it kind of maybe breaks up the monotony. Look at something different, but I also
Yeah.
get the other side of it that it's we get conditioned to experience certain things, and it is a hard scoring system to adjust to on a week. 1 week swing, and then we're back to normal. So anyhow, any other stories from the world of golf that I may have missed that you wanted to talk about, or just any sidebar stuff?
Um, let's see. I wouldn't say in my personal circle, but in the circle of just golf influencers and golf fans and stuff like that that I've been seeing as I scroll my timelines on social media. A lot of people are up and down on Sunday Red so far. I think they are a little bit at odds with the prices, but I'm like, if y'all were real Tiger Woods fans, these may be $20-$30 more expensive than the Tiger Woods logo. So I think Nike did a good job of dialing it in, being able to save costs because of all the factories that they have as far as cost goes. But I mean, Sunday Red is literally not far off from the Tiger Woods line of clothing. So I don't get what everybody's big
I think it's.
deal with it.
I mean, I think it seems to be more of a premium brand from what I see. At least the um,
That's what TW was.
materials. Yeah, I mean they seem to be more high end in terms of material choices, right? I think we've seen a comparable. Nike does this. I think we've seen Scotty wear it, kind of that fleece. It's a different type of
Yeah,
long sleeve knitted type of deal. And you see some stuff from Sunday Red. I think it's because I don't know, maybe it's the animosity around the logo. The pricing is high, but I think everything, not everything, but there are a lot of things in golf that it's hard to justify the cost. I was talking to my boy JP. We were talking about the cost of golf shirts, and he's like, "Man, I was in um, the mall the other day in Travis Matthews store, and he's like, it's $85 for a golf polo, and he's like, I'm not paying that. Why would I pay that much money, right? And I can go catch something on clearance, late in the season or whatever, and my dudes that I'm playing with aren't gonna. Oh, that's last year's style of shirt.
right.
I mean, it's the same thing. Right? Oh, that's an old pattern from a couple seasons ago. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, you know me.
It
I'm a merchandiser at my shop, so it's kind of bittersweet for me because I try my best to put good things into the shop that I think people will think are viable, and I think and like brands that are viable, brands that you would like, things like that. And I think on a personal note, Travis Matthew, we've had like just like very up and down relationship in our shop because at one point we didn't really want them. The price point wasn't really where we wanted it as far as quantity that we needed to have in the shop, as far as then like what we were going to be charging it with our cost averaging and
like
everything like that.
like
But
y'all's upfront cost and then what you'd get out of it just didn't make sense from a math perspective.
right, but the tech that they're using now is made it more golf friendly, not price friendly. Still the same price, but more golfable. Because if you've ever had a Travis Matthews shirt, in recent years it was more so a lifestyle brand, and I'm fine with that. I love some good golf, like some good golf t-shirts, some good golf like styles and things like that. So I'm not unopposed to that. But if you want your brand to, expand and be more of like a staple in Texas, it's got to be weather friendly. When you have thicker, more cotton blend shirts, we're not going to love that,
Yeah. No,
especially
it's gonna stick to you.
and not wick and not dry out. So they've done a better job of making it more active wear, more wicking, or at least more light and breathable and stuff like that. So I think they're headed the right direction. Travis Matthews pretty much always been like a higher end brand as it is. So um
Yeah.
luckily for me,
But I
like
don't
that's
know.
why it's tough because I mean I'm never paying full price for anything anyways. So that's why like it
No.
makes it a little bit more feasible for me, but like I get it. I definitely get it. 100%. It's tough.
So let me ask you this: from style standpoint, in y'all shop, are y'all selling? If you could look at, let's say, different styles of shirts, right? You're gonna have your basic stuff that are
Hmm.
just solids with a brand on it. You may have some stripe stuff. And then now a lot of times you're seeing heavily patterned shirts that
Right.
seem to be popular. Would you say the heavily patterned shirts are the best sellers at this point in your shop that people pick up and purchase the most often? Or is it your more staple shirt, which is like a solid color?
See, that's where it gets tricky because it really just depends on the area era of person you're talking to. Our age group, Gen X, millennials, all we're trying to do is get something that looks good to us. So I have pattern shirts. I have basic shirts. I have every kind of, one of those varieties in my closet. But when you get into the older gentlemen, what do they tend to predicate towards? They tend to, towards the straight colors. Now, if they feel like they're still living a young life, or if they feel like they have a bunch of vacation shirts, yeah, they'll pick up a print, they'll pick up a louder shirt, something that we have in the shop. So I think we have over the last 2.5 years or so that I would say I've had an impact and helped out with this type of thing. I feel like we've had a good balance of basic, your formal stuff with the stripes just to keep it kind of classy, and then your kind of like seasonal summer colors, and then you're just flat out prints. Because we have Bad Birdie in the shop, so they're flat out prints. Doesn't really matter the
Mm-hmm.
season. I will say, when it comes to buying Bad Birdie, that's also a crazy thing. Bad Birdie for my shop only really sells in summer months, vacation shirts, warmer months, and
Hmm.
things like that when they're trying to get out and be more colorful. When it comes to the fall, they're looking for the flats. They're looking for the straight colors. So FootJoy picks up. Travis Matthew picks up.
Yeah. Yeah,
All
because you're
of
probably
our
wearing it under a fleece or something. It may not be,
right.
the shirt isn't the star of the show anymore.
Right. So it fluctuates. So it really just depends on the crowd that you're talking to. But at our shop, we have like a good blend of most of that, as you would think.
Yeah.
And then some of the brands have it within themselves. Like one of the newer brands that we have in the shop now, Mizzen and Main, went out on a limb on them. They're kind of like that low '90s ballpark for a polo in our shop. You probably could get them online for maybe $10 less. We don't sell it for much more than the companies are selling it for. But they have some
Yeah.
nice printed shirts. They have some nice basic shirts, and then they have like what we would call like a double print where it looks busy, but then from a distance it looks kind of basic. Because like if you were to look at this shirt in person, you would see that this is double blended. But from a distance, it just looks like a kind of like a shiny gray, glossy gray, like a darker print
Yeah.
for a polo.
It's a
So
very subtle. Yeah.
right. So
Well, I mean, I'm familiar with Mizzen and Main because they took a shot on Phil Mickelson a handful of years back, and they were trying to. It's when he came out on the course in like full dress shirts,
mhm,
collars, and it was kind of wild for a while.
button downs and stuff
Um,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, straight button downs, and it was weird. So that's
Yeah.
how I became familiar with their brand, and I get it. They seem to be out there trying some different stuff, which is cool. You got to take some chances and risk, especially trying to stand out in today's market.
Right.
Um, I will give a shout out, not sponsored clearly, but dudes, if y'all are looking to save some money, Ben Hogan brand in Walmart.
Yeah.
$17 to $21. Really good prints. They wick very well. You don't have to break the bank. So when you're thinking about shirts, and you're probably not gonna get a bunch of guys flocking to Walmart, so you don't really have and depending on where you're at in your particular city, the choices are very different between the brands. So there's a lot of deals to be had out there. You don't necessarily have to spend close to $100 for a good
Yeah.
polo these days.
Walter
It's a
Hagen.
very
You
yeah,
know,
oh yeah,
there's a lot of different good cost efficient Yada Golf, Jack Golf. a lot of good cost efficient brands. Swanee's Golf, we just recently got them in the shop. As far as like
Hmm.
apparel goes, they started off very headstrong with headwear, then got into the polo game a little bit later on, but they're coming along and they're pretty, they're mid 60s or so like that. But like when you're in a pro shop, that's a good price. I know
Yeah.
you can always find something cheaper, but like just
No, in
talking
a
from
pro
my
shop, usually you're gonna see some inflated prices there.
yeah. So yeah,
I
I
did want to
definitely agree.
before we get off, and I totally forgot about this. I want to shout out. We did a what's in the bag after Xander Schauffele won the PGA Championship at Valhalla. So
Yeah.
that's linked in the description of this particular video. Go check that out if you haven't watched it or if you're new to joining us. Also, I have the slide deck because it was just sitting in my back here. I'll pull it up. There have been no changes to his bag. Golf WRX reposted his what's in the bag, and there were no changes because he was already rocking some versatile clubs. So I'm just gonna pull this up. I'm gonna go through the slides super quick. We're not gonna do our usual commentary because again, link in the description below for the what's in the bag with details. But Callaway Staffer, 10.5 degree driver, 3 wood, the AI smoke versions of things, old Apex hybrid that he has in the bag, rocking the MP 20. So this was still in the bag, definitely fitting for a link style course with
Hmm.
Mizuno. Didn't need to make any changes with that, already ready to go. And no changes to his irons or wedges for this week. And this was
Yeah.
the putter that we were talking about, that Toulon, that honestly earned him all the money this week. This was
Thousand
the
percent.
money making club for him. So um
Make
yeah,
more
Chrome
putts.
Tour. Yep. And they were talking about Sam Burns. I think he plays the Chrome Soft or something like that. So that's the what's in the bag for Xander, just kind of going through that. We did it earlier this year, again after the PGA Championship. Check it out on the link below. All right. Last little comment from our mom. For the ladies who want to buy shirts, gear as gifts, thanks for shouting out some brand names. Yeah, always here.
For
All right,
sure.
y'all. Of course, per usual, we'll be back at it again this coming week. Let's see what's happening on the PGA Tour. The ladies will be in Portland, so that'll be interesting. A late finish, 3M Open. Usually it's pretty decent attendance. I know Billy Horschel said he'd already be back at it on the range this coming week, so we'll be back discussing again next week, y'all. Bearder Bros Golf Show. This is Rod.
And Marcus.
Catch y'all next week. Bye.